Hello designers, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into one of the most searched topics in interior design, small bedrooms. And I know it can be one of the most frustrating topics, like the universe just handed you a tiny little shoebox and said, good luck. But honestly, I think small bedrooms are one of the most interesting design challenges out there because it's not about giving things up, it's about making smart choices. We're gonna cover so much in this video, so I'm gonna split it up into what to do and what to avoid. Make sure to stick around for the end of the video where I will share some pro tips as well as some myths that I'd like to bust because there is some genuinely awful advice floating around out there. Whether you're starting from scratch, doing a little refresh, or just trying to figure out why your bedroom feels off, there's something in here for you. We're covering a lot of ground, so if you find any of this information helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next video. It really helps out the channel, so I would very much appreciate it. Okay, let's start with color. And before you roll your eyes at another go light and neutral speech, hear me out. There's a genuine reason this advice exists, and it goes deeper than just aesthetics. Light tones reflect more light, that's it. When your walls, your bedding, and your furniture are all on the lighter side, the room just feels more open and airy. It's not magic, it's literally just physics. Now the good news is you've got way more options than just plain white. Think soft neutrals, warm whites, muted pastels, light greige. Greige is that beautiful in-between tone that's not quite gray and it's not quite beige. It's one of my favorites because it's so versatile. It works with almost any furniture and reads as very calm and clean. If you're thinking this sounds boring, here's something that I want to push back on a little. Light doesn't have to mean plain. In small bedrooms, depth comes from texture, not color contrast. Think linen curtains, a textured headboard, natural wood, a woven rug. All of that adds richness without making things feel visually crowded. And while we're on the subject, let's talk about pattern and scale for a second. A bold, busy pattern on your duvet or comforter actually highlights how much of the room the bed is taking up. It draws attention straight to it. Solid colors or really subtle patterns keep the bed from dominating the whole room. It's a small thing, but it really does affect how the space reads overall. One thing to watch out for is a strong contrast between big pieces. A large dark bed frame against the light wall can chop the room into smaller parts visually. You want smoother transitions so the eye can flow around without hitting stop signs. If you love darker tones, don't panic, just save them for the smaller stuff. A dark throw pillow, a dark vase, a little decorative detail here and there, that works beautifully. And one last trick, try keeping your walls, trim, and even your ceiling in a similar tone. It reduces visual breaks and can make the room feel taller. Small change, but a big difference. Before we get into the next tip, if you're looking at these renderings and wondering how I'm visualizing this space, the software I use is called Planner 5D. You can map out your room in 2D and then flip it into a full 3D view and actually see how everything looks together before you buy a single thing. If you're in the middle of a redesign, they have a free 7-day trial, so link in the description. Alright, let's talk about furniture. The golden rule for small bedrooms, every piece should work a little harder. In smaller rooms, furniture has to pull its weight. Looking good is great, but it's not quite enough on its own. When a piece can do 2 or 3 jobs at once, you need fewer pieces overall. And fewer pieces means more breathing room. The best example is a bed with built-in storage. Drawers underneath or a raised platform base means you're not scrambling to find room for a separate dresser or stacking boxes in the corner. And if you can take it one step further, like having that storage unit flow directly into a built-in desk or vanity along the wall, you've basically created an entire functional zone out of one cohesive piece of furniture. No extra items, no extra floor space taken up. If you want something a bit more flexible, fold-away furniture is a great solution. This fold-away desk is a perfect example because when it's not in use, it folds flat against the wall and becomes a framed piece of art. You would never even know it was there. And if your bedroom needs to serve multiple purposes, like it's also a living room or a home office, it might be worth looking at Murphy beds. I know they can feel a bit retro, but the modern versions are genuinely beautiful. Okay, this one is a full section all on its own because mirrors are super underrated. A full-length mirror leaned against the wall or mounted on the back of a door is probably the easiest win in a small bedroom. They bounce light around and create the illusion of depth, and your brain interprets that reflection as more space. Placement really matters though. You want a mirror to reflect something good, a window, a nice lamp, a well-styled corner. If it's facing a cluttered closet or a blank wall, it's not doing you any favors. Think about what it's going to show before you hang it. And more isn't always better here. 1 or 2 well-placed mirrors feels intentional. A whole wall of them starts to feel chaotic, so use them thoughtfully. When you use them well, they're one of the most powerful tools you'll have. Here's one that I feel like gets overlooked constantly. Walls have so much more potential than people give them credit for. And everything that you can move off the floor and onto the wall is a small overall win for the feel of the room. Practically, that looks like tall wardrobes going close to the ceiling instead of low, wide dressers. It's the same storage with way less visual width. Floating shelves are especially great because they feel light. You can see the wall behind them. Compared to a heavy cabinet, they don't weigh down the room anywhere near as much. You can have everything else right, but still feel cramped if the layout's off. The most important thing is clear walking paths. You should be able to move around the bed and reach storage without squeezing between anything. When movement feels easy, the room feels comfortable. Even just 5 to 10 extra centimeters of visual floor makes a noticeable difference because our brains read open floor as breathing room. Where you put the bed matters too. Pushing it against the longest wall often works well, but sometimes that can leave you off balance depending on the layout. Centering the headboard on the wall with a nightstand on each side will always look good. It creates a sense of intention that makes the room feel designed rather than just arranged. Here's an example I made for a client who was struggling with their bedroom layout. They didn't like how the room felt, and I could see why. The room itself was fine, but with a growing family on the way, they needed space for a bassinet, and that's where things got tricky. Every wall they tried left the walkways too tight. Moving the bed to the opposite wall did free up some space, but it created a new problem. The bed ended up sitting directly across from the mirrored closet doors, which caused a very awkward layout for the TV. So I had to get a little creative. By using the length of this wall and moving the bed partially in front of a sliding door they never actually used, the whole room opened up. Suddenly there was breathing room on all sides, and as a bonus, they now had options for where the bassinet could go. So if your layout feels impossible, it might just mean the obvious solution isn't the right one. Don't be afraid to think outside of the box. Good lighting can completely change how a bedroom feels. Please, I beg you, stop using that awful overhead light and instead opt for layered lighting, which is multiple light sources at different heights. A single overhead light creates really harsh shadows and makes everything feel flat. But mix in some bedside lighting, a wall light, some soft ambient glow, and the whole room instantly feels deeper and warmer. If space is tight, wall-mounted or hanging pendants are great because they don't take up nightstand space. Something that often gets forgotten is how important light temperature is. Cooler white lights feel too harsh for a sleep space, so go warmer because it creates a softer, more restful mood. And if you're open to it, dimmable lights are a total game changer. Dialing the light down in the evening makes the room feel so much more intimate. It'll turn a small space into an actual retreat. Plants are one of those design staples that have stood the test of time, and honestly for a good reason. In a small bedroom, a well-placed plant does a lot of quiet work that you might not even consciously notice. Plants add life and warmth in a way that no other decor object can really replicate. They bring in this organic element that makes the room feel less stiff and more lived in. And because they're natural, they don't read as clutter the same way that a collection of objects does. The key is just keeping it intentional. 1 or 2 plants placed well. A taller plant in a corner can actually help fill vertical space without adding any visual weight. And a small plant on a nightstand or shelf adds a little softness without crowding the surface. Alright, we just saw what to do, now let's flip it and see what tends to go wrong. This is probably the most common mistake I see. People fall in love with a gorgeous bed frame or a beautiful dresser, and then buy it without thinking about the scale. And then it just dominates the entire room. In small spaces, proportion matters more than style. A stunning piece of furniture can still feel completely wrong if it visually takes over or blocks movement. Thick bed frames with side panels, very tall, heavy headboards, these eat up the space more than you'd think, both physically and visually. Chunky nightstands on either side of the bed can make the whole area feel really crowded. When you're shopping, check all of the measurements, width, length, height, and think about the visual weight too. Furniture with legs tends to feel lighter because you can see the floor underneath. So ultimately choose furniture that fits the room, not the other way around. Every little object on its own might be totally fine, but put a bunch of small things together and suddenly the room feels chaotic. Small spaces are more sensitive to visual clutter because there's less room for the eye to rest. When every surface is busy, the brain reads the whole room is busy. So edit down or go for slightly larger statement pieces instead. One medium artwork rather than a gallery of tiny frames. One beautiful vase instead of 5 little objects. If you want to display a few things together, group them in one intentional spot rather than spreading them around the room. And don't be afraid to leave some surfaces partially empty. It can feel like you're not finishing the room, but those empty surfaces are doing a lot of work. They let everything breathe. Heavy, dark, thick curtains block natural light and add a ton of visual weight right at the window. That's the one spot in the room that you really want to feel open and bright. Lighter fabrics are almost always better. Sheer curtains, light linen, or simple roller blinds, they give you the privacy you need but still let light through and don't feel visually heavy. A little trick you can do is hang your curtains higher and wider than the actual window frame. It makes the window look bigger and pulls in more light, one of those small moves with a surprisingly big payoff. Most people think of storage in terms of the obvious stuff. The wardrobe, the dresser, maybe some shelves, and that's fine, but that's not the only option. There's actually a lot of storage potential already built into your room that you might not notice. Under the bed is a big one. A storage bench at the foot of the bed, wall shelves above the door frame, organizers inside your wardrobe, and the back of your bedroom door or closet door, which is honestly some of the most overlooked space in any bedroom. The reason this matters is that when clutter has somewhere to go, it gets off of your surfaces, and clean surfaces are what makes a small room feel calm and put together. So before you go buying more furniture to solve a storage problem, have a look around at what you already have. Chances are the solution is already there. All right, before I wrap up, here are a few pro tips. These are the things that separate a room that looks good in theory from one that actually feels good to be in. Tip 1, always measure walking space, not just furniture. Most people check if the furniture fits, designers check if the room works. The walkway around your bed is just as important as the bed size itself. If movement feels tight, the room will always feel smaller, even if everything technically fits. Tip 2, use the hero element. One clear focal point works so much better than lots of competing details. A beautiful headboard, a statement light fixture, a textured wall, standout bedding, whatever you love. When the eye has one clear place to go, everything feels intentional and calm. Tip 3, let some areas stay empty. Not every wall needs something on it. Not every surface needs decor. Intentional empty space is part of design. It makes the pieces you do choose stand out even more. Tip 4, match visual weight, not just color. Even light-colored furniture can feel heavy if it's bulky. Slim legs, thinner frames, more delicate shapes work better than chunky, blocky pieces, even if the color is exactly the same. Tip 5, think about how the room looks at night, not just during the day. Bedrooms are mostly used in the evening. Think about how everything feels with the lamps on, the curtains closed, and soft light. That's actually the most important view, and it can completely change how colors and materials read. All right, we are almost done, but I can't wrap up without talking about a few things I hear all the time that are just absolutely not true. Small bedrooms have to be all white. Nope. Light tones help, but you can definitely use color. It just needs the right balance. You can't use decor in a small bedroom. You totally can, just use fewer, more intentional pieces. Everything has to be tiny furniture. Not always. Sometimes one properly scaled piece looks way better than a bunch of smaller ones. More storage means more furniture. Actually, the opposite. The best storage is usually vertical or hidden, not additional pieces taking up floor space. Small bedrooms can't feel luxurious. This one really bugs me. Some of the coziest, most beautifully designed rooms I've ever been in have been small. When a small room is done well, it feels tailored and intentional in a way that sometimes big rooms don't. Small can absolutely be special, it just takes a little bit more thought. Okay, that is everything. I hope this gave you a solid new way to start thinking about your space. It's not about limitations, it's about being intentional. If you want to start mapping out your own room, don't forget about that Planner 5D link in the description. And if you got something out of this video, hit that like button and leave a comment below. What's your favorite way to make a small bedroom look bigger? I'd love to know what's worked for you. All right, we're done. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.